Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here today. My name is Charlie, and I am the CEO of Woorton. I'd like to start by thanking Jenna and Mona for inviting me. We were a bit sad at Walton a year and a half ago when we could not make it for M0. So we worked hard for a year and finally get invited for M1. So thank you, and thanks to the entire Melonport team. As some of you, I have a background in financial market where I used to trade billions on government bonds issued by states coming from emerging markets. I then jumped into the VC industry on the funds that were investing in fintech all across Europe. I met a lot of entrepreneurs, and I met entrepreneurs coming from the crypto space, and that's how I saw the problem I wanted to solve, liquidity. Like many problems, you solve it by solving sub-problem. When you trade on a regulated asset with a regulated framework, everything is easy. You just focus on trading and execution. If you have a problem, you know who to call, you know what to do. Everything has been handled before. Jumping into the crypto space, everything was different. We had to build everything from scratch. Access to the bank account, building order books, building a settlement process. Everything I took for granted for years, I had to build it again. And that's why we launched Woorton. We wanted to be at the forefront of this ecosystem, to spot inefficiencies early on and try to solve them. So we launched Woorton in March 2018, backed by two French institutionals. And we now have about 70 clients over 2 business lines. The first one is providing liquidity on exchanges and off exchanges to a wide range of professional clients, investment fund, crypto hedge fund, family offices, payment provider, actually exchanges. Any companies that want to buy or sell crypto, they can go through us. We are few market makers in the space, providing a 24/7 API, where they can trade through this API. This API is easy enough for anyone to be plugged to it and trade on it, and complex enough for sophisticated traders to build their trading strategy on top of it. The second business line is market making as a service. We borrow an inventory from a token issuer, and we manage the liquidity on exchanges for them. As you can imagine, we started doing so on centralized exchanges, and we are now deploying on decentralized exchanges, starting in the coming weeks by being a reserve manager on Kyber Network. So in an ecosystem where the asset and the price of the asset represents not only the value of its underlying, but also the access to the related service, liquidity is key. If I had to define it, I would say liquidity describes the degree to which you can easily buy or sell an asset without affecting the price. So our job at Woorton is to allow you as community member, buyer, seller, to buy and sell the crypto at the best execution, while we will be handling the market impact. I'm sure that if you're sitting here today, it's because you're convinced, like me, that decentralized exchanges has advantage over centralized exchanges. 10 billion worth of USD. It's what has been stolen over the past 10 years on centralized exchanges by hackers. I'm not going to pitch you why DEX are trustworthy and why we should use it. I'm just going to name 3 advantages. First one, auditable security. Second one, transparency. Third one, control over the assets on most of the decentralized exchanges. Yet, 16 billion worth of USD are traded every day on centralized exchanges. We are trading billions of an asset that take value from its decentralization on centralized platform. In comparison, we have less than 10 million worth of USDs that are traded every day on decentralized exchanges. What are the reasons for this illiquidity? First one is easy. Connectivity. Being plugged to an API of a centralized exchange, very easy. Communicating with a smart contract, a bit more complex, especially when you want to place hundreds of orders every second. On the centralized exchanges, you can trade more than 100 transactions in 1 second. on decentralized exchanges, you are reliable on the execution of the smart contract. There are some solutions that are being built, for instance, by Kyber Network again. They are centralizing the order book and decentralizing the settlement. This makes us, as market maker, a bit more vulnerable. A hacker, for instance, could come into our system, place order at a very low level, and then with another account, hit these orders and store our inventory. We need a strong ecosystem with a lot of players to find solutions to these multiple problems. For this one, for instance, the solution could be to input into our code in our trading strategy to not settle a trade that is too far from market condition. Another problem is funding. On centralized exchanges, market makers can post 10 and trade 100. This is cheap for them. They love it. This kind of instrument does not exist on decentralized exchanges. But I have a good news. There is a reason for that, and it's safety. There is a trade-off to make as a market maker between having a cheap access to order books and having safe access to order books. This one, I wasn't sure to talk about it because I'm sure you don't like it, but I have to mention it if I'm doing my job. It's regulation. If you want smart money to jump in decentralized exchanges, we will have to fit at least a bit to some of their requirements, especially when it comes to KYC and anti-money laundering. Lucky for us, there are some non-profits that are working hard on it. Non-profits like Mama in Swiss, like the AFGC in France that we built at Woorton. And I'm sure they will find solution for that. Last but not least is user experience. Market makers are useless if there is no user. The challenge for the builders of decentralized exchange was very high technology in terms of technology. But now we need to have projects that users want to use. And that's how they will come to the decentralized exchanges. So you understand that at Walton we are taking the bet that liquidity will switch from centralized exchange to decentralized exchange. Who convinced us of that? Well, I was having a coffee with my partner Zaidin, head of our trading, and Jenna from Melonport came in. She took a hot chocolate that day. She explained us her vision, and it's not that we were easy to convince, but we understood that we needed more than market makers to build this. We needed strong players to build a strong ecosystem that allowed to have execution, market makers, decentralized exchanges. And that's what they are building, and that's why we are believing in what this ecosystem is building in terms of decentralization. It is now, for us, a 10-year challenge. Not doing a bad joke, but if we want to be ready, we have to be prepared right now. We believe it's a 3-step process. First, being market makers on centralized exchange. Why? To get familiar with the underlying and to source the liquidity where it is right now. That we already do. Second, building an infrastructure that is agnostic to the fact that a platform is centralized or decentralized. This will be released soon from us. Finally, any assets that we are active on, we need to be active on centralized and decentralized markets. Thanks for listening, and if you have any question, please feel free.
That was actually really efficient. I think you do have time for one question. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, one at the back.
Sure.
Give me a second.
Great presentation. How do you deal with the issue of front running in decentralized exchanges?
So I don't know if you were here for the presentation just before me. I was trying to explain how front running were dealt on decentralized exchange. As I said, where they've been first built, it was really hard to do market making on decentralized exchanges. So connectivity was really complicated, and you had, for each order you place, to generate a smart contract and to execute it. The solutions that are being brought to this market is to centralize, as I said, the order books. Where here you have a smaller lag when you place order, and that's how we are dealing it right now. The connectivity are better, we can place more order, and it's starting to look like a centralized exchange. So that's how we would be dealing with it. I'm not sure I've answered your question, but the products that are building are more fitting our requirement as a market maker right now.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your talk.
Thank you.